Hello, everybody, and welcome to this live today. I am really excited to be here. And since we're going live on Instagram as well. And whoo, chair is not in a stable place. I want to talk about something that I think, quite frankly, might get me a lot of hate. This might cause you to exit stage left. And that's completely fine. But I think it's a conversation that we really need to have. Actually, there's a lot of conversations that we really need to have. But I recently was talking to a good friend of mine and just talking about what I've been going through currently in my life, the heartbreak, the grief, the moving through this portal into the next phase of my life, right? And I realized I am in a very unique position, which I'm fully aware of, that I don't have a lot of responsibility. Like, I don't have kids, I'm not married. I don't really have responsibility to anything or to anyone right now, aside from obviously like clients and women in programs that I'm running. And we were talking about the concept of being wildly and unapologetically selfish. And the truth of the matter is, for me, I was raised, as many of us were, as the quintessential good little girl, right? Like, making sure that everybody around me felt safe and comfortable, making sure all of their needs were met, over functioning emotionally, really self monitoring in a way that I was on what I call the enough tightrope, right? So, like, being afraid, being worried that you're too much, right? So, like, dialing it back in, but then simultaneously being afraid that you're not enough, right? And so we stay on what I call this like enoughness tightrope, where we're so self-monitoring, so stifling, right? And being selfish as a woman has such a bad reputation. And of course, everybody has their own unique situations that they're in, and you may or may not be able to be quote unquote selfish. But I firmly believe that being selfish when and where you can is one of the most radical acts of self love, because we've been fed a lie. We've been fed this lie that the more we give of ourselves, the more we'll be loved. The more we martyr ourselves, the more we'll be loved. The more we overfunction and overgive and stifle ourselves, right? That is how we love others, and that is how we procure love. That's how we get the love that we want in life. And what I'm seeing again and again and again for a lot of leaders right now is that you've played the good girl, you've played the roles, you've done all the right things. And many of you are coming to a place where you're like, I am unhappy, I'm unfulfilled. There is something that's getting ready to birth through me, like a deeper iteration of my work, but I don't know what that is. I'm throwing all the tools that I have at it and it's not working. And you're sitting there kind of like, I don't know what to do, right? Because you're journaling the same unconscious stories again and again and again. I mean, you're over your own bullshit. I'm over my own bullshit, right? I had this moment recently where I was like in my journal and I was like, what are the fears under this? And I was like, I'm so tired of these stories. I'm so tired of, I know what my core wounding is. You know what your core wounding is, right? And you do have a lot of tools that you can use to move through things and to regulate your nervous system. But what I don't see a lot of women doing is really taking up space in their lives, really being so fucking wildly and unapologetically selfish. And again, that's going to look different for different people. Again, I know I'm in a unique position where I don't have kids and I don't have a partner. And so you may have children and you're like, I can't truly be selfish. And what I want to invite you into is the belief that your desires take everyone around you higher, that your desires and you fulfilling those desires benefits every person in your life and benefits the world. When we operate from that place, it's easier to be quote unquote selfish, as in put ourselves first. But when we operate from a place of this zero sum game, that if I do this thing, others will suffer. If I say what I want or what I need, that will hurt others. if I take up space, there will be less space for others. When we operate from that zero sum game, we don't take up the space. And then what ends up happening is you get resentful of the people and things in your life. You create things in your life to try and give you freedom, but instead they end up feeling stifling and restrictive. We're going to have a little guest star today because he won't leave me alone until he joins the video. You end up like over compensating with quote unquote self-care because you're so exhausted, because your life is not full of pleasure and full of things that actually nourish you. I have really been thinking recently about this concept of being like well nourished as a woman. And for me, I I don't, when I say well nourished, I don't mean exclusively the food or, things that we're putting into our body. That is one part of it, right? But if you think of yourself as like a pie chart, what you eat, what you put into your body is like one slice of the pie. And I was really thinking about how growing up, I never saw a woman modeling what it means to be well nourished mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, right? And when we are giving from empty, which is what we're told to do, we can't fulfill what we're here to fulfill. I know for a fact that if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are here for a massive impact. You're here to lead a movement and a revolution. You're here to be this woman. Let's see. I wonder if I can block. Yes. On Instagram, whenever some random person requests to be in my video, you get blocked. Hello, boundaries. Okay. So I know that you're here to have a massive impact. I know that you are here with something on your heart, on your soul that you are meant to walk out into this world. And that's going to look different for every single person. For many of you, if you're in this space and in this community, chances are you have a business or you're a leader in some capacity. And you want to live an epic life. Like, I am not here for reasonable lives, for a practical life, for a life where it's like, oh yeah, of course, we all saw that coming. I am here to create the life that blows my own socks off, that people look at me and are like, how the hell did she create that? I am here to live so fully, to experience fully, to love fully and deeply my life, myself, those in it, right? And I know that you want the same. I think that for many women, I'm not going to say all, but I think the majority of women, we have these outrageous desires buried within us. And we're afraid that if we become selfish, if we prioritize ourselves, if we step out of the good little girl role, that we will just go so off the rails and will be considered crazy. And this is a legitimate fear because for centuries, women were institutionalized for being crazy, or my favorite diagnoses, hysterical, which was basically just a catch-all phrase for anything a woman was dealing with. Postpartum depression, any other mental illness, not being turned on enough in her life, right? And so that fear of like, oh my God, I don't want to be crazy, like I don't want to step out of line, is understandable. But that's also why I am so focused right now on growing and nurturing the magnetic woman community, because there is no doubt in my mind that I could not have gone through and am continuing to go through like the heartbreak and the grief that I'm experiencing right now without the sisterhood that I've created in my life, without the women that I have in my life who see for me sometimes more than I can see for myself, right? And that is the power of community. That's the power of the feminine. You are not meant to heal your feminine, your magnetism, your power, your full expression. You cannot do it alone and you cannot do it in isolation because there's still so much set up in our society that is counter to that. There's still so much deep programming of the patriarchy and misogyny and, you know, in your own lineage, right? In your own like family members and those around you, where it can feel near impossible to stay connected to your outrageous, selfish desires sometimes. And that's why community is key and vital. And that's why for the Mary Magdalene Luxury Retreat, it is based on and is revolving around sisterhood. It's revolving around the fact that we are all doing this together and in person, which is a magic unlike anything else. So again, there's just like 4 spots left at this point. It's going to sell out by the time we have our first call on the 15th. So if you want one of those spots, you want to go to the link in my bio on Instagram, the description here, or the magneticwoman.com/luxury-retreat. Because the truth of the matter is, you were not meant to do this alone. You were not meant to do life alone. And this is going to be a whole other like live and podcast, but I saw some content from somebody yesterday that was like, the era of the boss babe is over and she's like this like young archetype who's like fiercely independent and the sovereign woman is in partnership. And I utterly disagree with the second part. I hands down, flat out fucking disagree that the quote sovereign woman is in partnership. And again, this is going to be a whole other, well, let's just go there, right? The sovereign woman, the woman who is embodied and empowered, chooses what is best for her. Now, if she is single, that she is not this like hyper independent woman who is so guarded that she cannot have intimacy in her life or that she cannot have like deep fulfilling relationships. And that's where the sisterhood comes in. The sovereign woman is deeply held in sisterhood, but that does not necessarily mean that she is partnered, because here's the truth, my loves, and this is something that I think we really need to be talking more about in this community and in self-development in general. Men as a whole are and undereducated when it comes to emotional intelligence and really showing up in this new version of partnership that women like us who have spent, years and decades doing self-development are requiring. And I think that there can be a very dangerous narrative inside self-development that is like, if the woman just works on herself enough, that is enough to get the man to step up. It is not. It is not. And so the sovereign woman is a woman who knows what she wants and what she's worth and will settle for nothing less. And that might mean being single. That might mean being single for a long time. That might mean being single forever or like not in partnership. That might mean being in different partnerships for extended periods of time. Like, we don't know what everybody's soul journey is. And so this idea that like the sovereign woman wants partnership or is in partnership, I think is dangerous, because I see so many women, so many powerful leaders shrinking down and giving their power away and being in this like, if I just keep working on myself in terms of this relationship, then things will work, even though the relationship's not working. And again, right? This comes back to being wildly selfish because we're told the more we give in relationships, like the more we'll be loved. And sometimes that might be true, but I think a lot of times it's about really standing firm in what you desire and what you know you deserve. Right. And so if you feel like you're struggling with any of this stuff, I really, really, really want to invite you into the Mary Magdalene Luxury Retreat because we're going to be working on all of this. We have 5 days together, right? This is a way for you to get out of your routine, out of your own way, out of your fucking head, and into your body, into pleasure, into a way that you've never experienced before. 4 spots left. Come join me. And if you're like, I love all of this, but I'm not ready for the retreat, right now I have this incredible bundle on sale. It's called La Dolce Vita because after the retreat, I will be off to Italy. And when I was thinking about why I was choosing Italy right now, I'm like, well, I feel so alive in Italy. I feel sensual. I feel flirtatious. I feel happy. I feel like magic just aligns. And I was like, how can I give every single woman in my audience the opportunity to experience that same stuff, that same feeling? And I was like, let me put together the ultimate bundle, which includes like everything around manifesting and the flirt and Aphrodite and the courtesan. And I have put so much into this bundle. So you can go to magneticwoman.com/magnetic dash bundle. And there's over 20 hours of content, courses, workshops. So if you feel like you've lost your spark, if you feel like, yes, I want to start being more selfish in my life, but the idea of doing that feels like such a huge leap and I'm not ready for the retreat, then get the bundle. It's on sale for 2 more days, I believe. And you can find it in all the same places as everything else. And with that, my loves, I'll see you tomorrow.